Last night, I watched the iconic, genre-defining cult classic Rosemary's Baby, and it gave me nightmares. No matter who you are, this movie is definitely a disturbing and unnerving watch, but for a mother in particular, it really hit different. I didn't realize how much this movie had gotten under my skin until I woke up in the middle of the night, sweating, having had these dreams of people completely taking over my life. I think this is testament to how much of an impact Rosemary's Baby has had on me, and I want to talk about it. Rosemary's Baby was released in 1968 and directed by Roman Polanski, and the IMDb logline reads, "A young couple trying for a baby moves into an aging, ornate apartment building on Central Park West, where they find themselves surrounded by peculiar neighbors." I love how deeply boring and mundane this logline sounds in comparison to how disturbing and strange Rosemary's Baby actually is. I think Polanski's ability to take a fairly mundane, everyday storyline and turn it into something perverse and unusual is where his genius lies. Just a courtesy note, this review doesn't contain any major spoilers, but it does reveal things about the story and where it goes of Rosemary's Baby, so if you want to go in completely blind, watch it and come back to the video. My favorite part of the mise-en-scene has to be the costumes. In particular, Mia Farrow's outfits. Obviously, they were very of the time, but they also did such a good job of conveying her shy, polite, naive nature, focusing on things like collars and bows, floral housecoats, things that are working so well to tell us a lot about her character and oftentimes make her look younger, like a little girl with those big doe eyes. All of this helps to position her character as someone that we view as being easily taken advantage of and controlled, which is essentially what ends up happening to Rosemary. The general mise-en-scene doesn't necessarily give you horror vibes either, which I really like. It's quite unsuspecting, and I think that the use of color in costumes and decor, although it's very of the time and that was kind of how people dressed and what they had in their houses, it juxtaposes really nicely with the tension and the paranoia and the thriller horror aspect of the film. There was also so much in the film that was there to represent a facade of happiness and success, promising things like a young couple getting this, really nice new apartment and the promise of falling pregnant and bringing new life into the world, being married to this successful artist. All of these things are kind of acting to tell you a story or the exterior of everything being okay, all whilst there is this darkness underlying. The atmosphere in Rosemary's Baby is thick, and it had me looking over at my husband very worriedly the entire time we watched this film. I really enjoyed the camera work. I think that it wasn't overbearing or too much. It was very subtle. It was also very unconventional at times. If you think about watching a lot of horror movies, they tend to hover over something or move the camera in a way that makes you realize like, oh, I'm supposed to feel this way. But with Rosemary's Baby, it wasn't so straightforward, which really added to it being so eerie and uncomfortable and unnerving. Notably, the scenes where there were flashes of things very quickly. I think a lot of other directors would have hung on to that for a lot longer to make sure that the audience knew and had noticed. But Polanski does a really good job of putting you in Mia Farrow's shoes when she notices the pierced ear of the neighbor or the fact that Guy is still wearing makeup when he comes home. They quickly flash over to these things and then come back to her, really putting you in her shoes. Everything about the aesthetic of the film and how it was executed made it a very sophisticated horror, which is something I wish we would see more of today. Even in the dream sequences, which were probably my favorite, it didn't feel like they had aged at all, which is a testament to Polanski's filmmaking. Mia Farrow is an absolute knockout in this. She is perfectly cast and has the fragility, both physically and emotionally, to really have you believing that she is actually going through all of this. A quick shout out to her iconic pixie cut look by Vidal Sassoon. I think that one will go down in fashion and style history for eternity. A little research tells us that this was a challenging film for all who were involved, particularly Mia Farrow, who reportedly was pressured from the studio to lose weight, and this resulted in health problems. I also read that despite being a staunch vegetarian, she ate raw liver in a scene on camera. It sounds like a classic case of a director having a very specific vision and willing to kind of almost do anything to bring it to life. I love movies so much, but when you peel back the layers of many of the great ones, they're very unsavory. And this is a little bit sad when you learn how much suffering has gone on behind the scenes to make movies, but we'll save that for another video. Rosemary's Baby felt a lot more subtle than I was initially expecting. It built tension and paranoia in an expert way that was able to hold off actually really showing any gore or violence and focusing instead on psychological paranoia, loss of control, and kind of the ultimate depiction of being gaslit by everybody around you. This coercion and manipulation and just completely ignoring any of Rosemary's feelings or worries, to me, was the real horror in the film. It felt more and more maddening and frustrating to watch Rosemary be so controlled by everybody around her, and I think it played on a lot of themes of being a female in general and how vulnerable that is on its own, and then adding another layer by being a pregnant female, which kind of think is like the most vulnerable you can be as a person. Viewing this as a person who has been pregnant and gone through the process of having a baby, it really hit differently for me in watching someone go through this very harrowing experience of having so many people tell you what to do and have input, whether it's an overbearing neighbor, a husband who maybe doesn't quite understand what you're going through, or a doctor who thinks that he knows best. And those things to some degree still happen today, and I experienced them in a certain way. Obviously nothing to the extent that Rosemary did, but this was really terrifying to me to watch. I'm not sure if that's something that Polanski was explicitly trying to touch on in the themes of the movie, but it did kind of come through. It's like everybody wants to have a say on what happens with Rosemary's body and the baby, and she is just shrinking in the whole situation and becoming less and less independent, and she's losing control over her body and then over her baby. That's sending her into this maddening state, and then she's being called crazy. It's just like, oh my God, imagine how frustrating that would be if something like that actually happened to you. And as I was watching it, I wanted to just jump through the screen and help save her. Its runtime of 2 hours and 17 minutes wasn't felt at all. I thought that the pace was great, very appropriate. It just slowly built and built and built throughout. Overall, I'm inclined to say that Rosemary's Baby is a masterpiece. I'm so happy that I finally got to watch it, and I think that it's definitely paved the way for many intelligent horror movies that we have seen since its release in 1968. Next up on my Polanski list is Repulsion, so look out for that one and let me know below what you thought of Rosemary's Baby or Polanski in general. I would love to hear.